Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Snapshots and Stories. I'm your host, Paul Owen, with a little bit of a froggy throat there. There we go. That's a little better. So tonight I wanted to take a little bit of time. I had a few people ask about some editing things that I had done before, and I want to do a little bit deeper dive in on that for those who are using Photoshop, and especially for those who are using Adobe Camera Raw or Lightroom. Now, what I'm going to show you tonight is you can do in both Adobe Camera Raw, and you can also do it in Lightroom because the tools that I'm going to show you are the same in both, and they work primarily the same. So if you are using Lightroom, excuse me, what I'm going to show you tonight will in fact work with both. So I'm going to dive right into it. I'm going to get into some photos for us to look at, and I'm going to show you 3 photos tonight. And of those 3 photos, we're going to do a landscape, we're going to do a bird photo, and then we're going to do one on people. And I just want to show you some different masking techniques that are very, very, very simple. And they're made simple so that you can spend less time on editing and more time on creating. So let's get into it. Okay, so we're into Photoshop now. And so what I'm going to show you here is a scene. We'll do the landscape one first. And this particular scene is of a it's a just 1 sec here. There we go. It's a picture of a scene that I shot probably about a week or so ago, and this is in a place called Mispec Beach, just outside of. It's actually still on the gates of St. John, but it's in that area in any event. And it's a beach. The tide has gone out, and I wanted to be there at blue hour and get this really really gorgeous water and landscape done in that really really dark blue color that we get when we're out there just after the sun sets, and just is starting to get to look really really nice. So in this particular scene, excuse me, we've got the sky, we've got some the land itself, we've got some water, and we've got some let's just call it mountains or hills. And there's also a small structure back here. And by the way, the moon, if you wonder what that white dot is. So I want to show you in Adobe Camera Raw how easy it is to go in and actually work on all of these elements independent of each other. So let me just take that and put it over into Adobe Camera Raw. There we go. Okay, so now we're in Adobe Camera Raw, and of course over on this side panel, this is all of our tools that we'll use some of them, but the main one we want to talk about tonight is the masking, which is this one right here. So let's bring up our masking tool. When you click on the mask, it gives you a bunch of different types of masks that you can actually use. It'll give you a subject, sky, or background. If you go down, you can get even more detailed with landscape, objects, brush. You can use linear gradients. You can mask with radial gradients, and you can even use color ranges and luminance ranges. So let's just click on landscape. I want to show you this because I find this is such a great and simple tool. When you click on landscape, you automatically get all of these things that you can mask separately. So for example, the natural ground itself would be right down here. So if I just push on natural ground, you'll see that it'll select it. But at the same time, when I select it, it also selected a little bit of our clouds, excuse me, and a little bit of the, let's just call it the mountains or the hills. So all you have to do in a case like that is just simply hit create. And then when you have something that you need to either extract or add in, you have the add and subtract tools here. So right now I just want to subtract the hill because I want to work on the natural ground. That's what we really what we want to focus on. So I'm going to hit the subtract, and I'm going to bring up a brush. Now when I bring up that brush, I can bring up the size of the brush here. I can feather it out, or I can make it really hard, and I can have a really heavy flow and a very, very heavy density. To take this stuff out, because it is separated from everything else, I'm just going to leave it as a heavy flow. I'm going to reduce the size of the brush. I can either use the slider, or I can just use my mouse wheel and just wheel it down. I'll wheel it to about that size. And then now I'm just going to basically brush out the mask that was selected. There we go. And right there. So that's all there is to it. So now the mask is only on the natural ground. So now that we've got the natural ground selected, we can slip down to our tool set, and we could do a number of different things. If I want to make that ground, say, a little bit more visible, but without really popping it out, I could just increase the shadows just a little bit. And as you can see, the ground, especially in the front there, is really starting to come out. It's starting to look really, really good. Now, if I wanted to do the opposite, if I want to make it more dramatic, I could give it some contrast and really bring things down a bit, or even take my blacks down a bit so that the water pops a little bit more. So in any event, you can see whatever I'm adjusting here is only on the natural ground. So once I've got my ground adjusted the way that I think, you know what, that looks pretty nice, let's go ahead and go back and create a new mask. And this time we're gonna select landscape again. Now I want to select the water. So let's click on water. So you can see here all of anything that's water is selected. So let's just hit create. And to show you where that is, I'm going to just overemphasize the exposure to show you that it is the water that is selected. So it's done an excellent, excellent job of selecting the water. So now if I wanted to do something without water, if I wanted just to bring up the highlights a bit, or if I want to bring them back, I could do it. If I want to maybe saturate the color a little bit more and make it really pop out, maybe I want these colors here to reflect more of the sky color, I could work on that and really make them pop, or I can make them very subtle. So you can do, again, with all these sliders like you do with any other adjustment, adjust things as you see fit. So I'm just going to push this contrast just a little bit on that water, and I'm actually going to push the saturation a bit. I like that. Okay, that's good. All right, so now we've actually adjusted our water and we have adjusted our land. So let's see what else we can adjust. So let's go back to landscape again. Let's select those mountains that we talked about. So when it selected the mountains, it kind of looked at the sky and kind of made a mistake that, you know what, we selected those clouds, but we need to get rid of that. So again, let's create and let's subtract those. Let's grab our brush and let's just shrink our brush down so that it's a good size. And let's just, oops. And let's just take those. No, there we go. And let's just take and clean up those clouds because we don't want those to be adjusted with our land, just the land. So anything that's land, we want to adjust it. Anything that's not, we don't. Okay, so now that we've got that adjusted, I'm not going to make a perfect selection on it, but I just want to show you. And again, so now if I want to bring the shadows up on that, just to give me a little bit more awareness of the land and the trees and so on, I could do that. Or I could do the opposite. If I want to make it more dramatic, I could just make them more contrasty and even reduce them down and maybe even add a little black level to them. Now, I want to show you something. If I push that too hard, keep an eye up here, because if this little white indicator comes on, it's telling us we're pushing our blacks to the point that they're underexposed. So keep an eye on that and just kind of push it up. We take your blacks back up. There we go. And then you can see there, we got rid of that underexposure. So these little tools are easily turned on and off. You just click on them. If it's just a square like that, that it's on. If it's off like that, if there's no white square around, then it's off. I like to leave those on so that as I'm making adjustments, we can keep an eye on both our very, very dark information and at the same time our very bright information on this side. So this one's for the brights or the lights or the highlights, and this one is for the darker areas. So once I've got that done, let's say, you know what, let's do something with that sky. So let's go back to landscape again, and I can actually select the sky. And as I selected it, it selected it relatively well. So let's actually just miss this part of the cloud. So let's go ahead and create. And if we have to add instead of subtract, same thing, use the brush, make it so that's the appropriate size, and just add that so that you're actually getting that cloud in there too. So that your sky is also selecting your clouds, because after all, the clouds are part of the sky. So once we've got that selected, then we can go ahead and let's say this is the blue hour and I want to make it just a little bit more blue. So I might come down to my temperature control and just tap it into making it just a little bit more blue without having to actually saturate it. And by doing that, because I'm trying to recreate the blue hour, I've got that done. So you can see what that landscape mask tool does. It gives us the ability to adjust our natural ground, excuse me, water, mountain, sky, all independent, and we don't have to make the selections and cut them out. It does it for us automatically. So there is our before, and there is our after. Let me just get this back to there. There we go, and get rid of all those brushes. And I'm just going to take those highlights out a bit because I'm popping up my sky a bit. There we go. So yeah, so then if you just turn on your mask, and then up here you've got two controls. If I wanted to totally clear all the adjustments I did with those masks, I would use this. So this is going to reset all masks. I'm not going to do that because I want to show you the difference that we did. So here is before and after. Very minor adjustments, but adjustments that, you know, depending on your taste, may have actually enhanced that photograph. So that's great. So once we're done with that, we just simply hit OK. And in Adobe Camera Raw, it'll throw us back into Photoshop. And then if we want to save it, right now, there it goes. It's made the adjustments, and I can go ahead and save it. So that was the first mask set I wanted to show you, and that was the landscape one, and it's really, really, really powerful. Let's move on now to another photograph. This one is of a bird, and let's get that in there, and that is a cedar waxwing. So this one here is quite interesting in that we can do a lot of different things with the mask here again. So right now we're in Adobe Photoshop, or wherever you happen to have your photo and you want to pick it up. So I'm just going to go ahead and go up to filter, and I'm going to open this up in a Camera Raw. I'm just going to use it as a filter. And so now I've opened up in Camera Raw. So now there's a few things that I would like to do to this photograph. So the first thing I want to do is the bird looks good, but I don't know that he is as bright as I would like. So I can go ahead and select my mask, select subject, and the nice thing about the mask in ACR or in Lightroom is they're very intelligent, and it knew that the subject in this photo was the bird, even though there's branches and leaves and a lot of other things. It's very, very, very good at picking out what is truly the subject matter. Now that I've got that selected, if I just want to go ahead and make him a little brighter, I can, which I did. Okay, so now I've got the bird a little bit brighter, and but I'm finding that the yellows on the bird's breast are beautiful. I don't think I would want to do anything to those, but I find that the tan colors are not quite as vibrant as I would like to have them. So I could either just select them and then try to fix that tan colors like I did before, or I can do something easier. So let's go to Create New Mask, and let's go to Color Range. Now, when I select the color range, I want to make these colors here that are very muted, I want to bring them up. So I'm just going to select with my eyedropper that color. When I do that, it certainly selects it on the bird beautifully, but it also selected it on a whole bunch of other things in the photo. So just like we did before on our other mask, I want to subtract the mask, and I'm just going to use my brush again, use a hard brush, and make sure that it's nice and large, because most of the stuff we're going to take out is way, way from the bird. So we just go ahead and get rid of what was selected that is similar in color to the area on the bird that we want to fix. This area here, I'm just going to go down the branch. I'm not worried about his feet because I'm not trying to adjust anything there. I just want to adjust his feathers. Now that I've got that cleaned up, the only adjustment that I'm going to make now is going to be on those colors. So like I said before, I want to make that pop just a little bit. So I can go ahead and right down to my saturation. And now I'm going to really whack it over so you can see the difference. But you can see that I can just work on that part of the bird all by itself. So if there's that color range that I want to work on and just increase the saturation on it, I can. Or I could even, adjust my tint or my temperature around it if I wanted to. But you want to keep it natural. So in most cases, you just want to push the saturation just enough to bring that up because it's not a really bright, luminant kind of a color on that particular bird. So once I've got that adjustment made, you know what? I think I'd like that. That looks really good. So let's say I want to do one more adjustment. And that would be that I would want my background maybe not so bright. So let's go ahead up to our create new mask. And let's now select our background. Okay, so it seemed to have selected everything other than our subject matter, which is the bird, which is exactly what we want. So now we can go ahead and just start to just bring that down a little bit. And as I darken that background just slightly, all of a sudden that bird pops off the page even more. But let's say for some reason that branch that he's sitting on is maybe just a little bit too dark. So if I want to take and subtract that mask off for that effect, I can hit subtract, choose my brush, and then go ahead and just paint over that branch and then bring that branch back to the luminosity or the brightness level that it once was. And if I want that one up there the same, because maybe I want them to be, maybe those things not so dark, then I can go ahead and just brush those back in. And again, this is just rough, just to give you an idea of the power of this tool, so that we can actually work on all kinds of individual things called local adjustments, and it works extremely well. So that would be the adjustment that you may want to do on one of your bird shots to make the bird pop in color, stand out more, and maybe reduce the background. Maybe if I found that background was just maybe just a little bit too dark, then I can bring it back up just a little bit. But the only thing I'm affecting is the background itself. So I like the color of the green. It blends so beautifully with the yellow of the bird. So I'm probably going to put it back to where it was because that was kind of nice. I just want to show you what you could do there. Another thing that you can do with another one of the masks is you can go ahead and create a new mask. And what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to select his eye because I want to maybe make that eye pop a little bit more. So let's go ahead and this time I'm going to select objects. So as I select that object, I'm going to actually zoom in so I can get closer to the eye so I can select it properly. And there we go, select objects. Now I'm just going to select his eye. And as you can see, the tool selected that eye quite well. So now if I just wanted to maybe just pop it up, maybe I want to bring up the highlights just, or maybe the whites just a little more. So that reflection, that catch light in his eye can be a little bit more dominant. And if I find that my black level in the eye is maybe just a little too much shadow in it, I can actually take the blacks and just reduce it somewhat and make it seem to be a much more contrasty look. So once I've got that done, I can simply just go back to my zoom key and put it back out. You go over to the top if you want to see what you've done without all the masks being turned on. Just come up here and you turn everything off. And then you can see what we've done to that bird. So let's go ahead, turn our masks back on just for a minute. And we're just going to see the difference before, after. So if you look at the bird itself, he's got more color in the top portion. He's brighter and his eyes popped out considerably better. So we have a much more visual bird, which looks absolutely wonderful. Okay, so that's how we handle, say, a bird photo. Okay, so let's move on to our last photo that we're going to talk about. And this one's actually a person. Okay, so this gentleman here is a singer-songwriter, and he wanted to do some photographs. And he wanted a vintage kind of a look and, something in a very warm tone. So we ended up doing this particular photograph, and it's almost monochromatic to a sense, and certainly has a very warm tone to it. But let's say we want to do some work on this, and we want to do some work, say, specifically on the individual himself. So let's go ahead and go back over to Camera Raw, and this time we're going to work with the masks that are designed to work with people. So again, we go ahead and select our masks, and we just wait for this mask to turn on. It's just finding people in the photo. It did. And when it finds the person in the photo, it'll show you their picture. You click on that picture, and then it's going to give you all kinds of masks that you can use on this individual. If I don't want to do anything individual, I just want to bring him up, I can just leave the entire person checked. I can go to create, and then I can go ahead and I can make him a little brighter if I want to in the scene. Or I'm going to reset that. To reset your buttons, you just simply double click on the little triangle or the little slider on whatever tool you're on, and it'll reset it back to 0. So let's do some work with this gentleman here. So let's go to select people. The first thing I want to do here is maybe I want to maybe brighten his hair a bit. So let's go ahead and see how it selects his hair. So if we click on hair, I'm going to zoom in on it. And you can see it did an absolutely wonderful job on selecting his hair. So now that we've got it selected, anytime you want to make an adjustment, you hit create, and that opens up your toolbar. So you can do whatever you want from that point. So let's say in this case, I just want to have a little more exposure in his hair. There, just to make it so that the light is shining on his hair a little bit better and it stands out more and you can see more detail in it. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, so now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, you know what? I think I'd like to do something with his facial skin. So you can go ahead, select people again, and let's just do facial skin. Now, when I select facial skin, you're going to notice again, it does an absolutely wonderful job. It leaves his lips, his teeth, his eyebrows, his eyes, and hair and neck and everything else alone. Only selected the facial skin. Again, an absolutely wonderful job on the capability of this mask selection. So let's say now I just want to add a little bit more highlight to his face to make his face stand out a bit more. So I can just go ahead and just push that up just a bit more. And I don't want to push it too much because if I do, I'm going to end up losing some skin detail, which I don't want to do. But I just want to make it just a little bit more vivid and bright. So, okay, so I've done that. So that looks good. So now let's go back and let's look at his hands and his neck. Now his hands and his neck look a little dark to me for what this photo is offering. So let's say I want to make them brighter. Well, then I go back to create new mask. And now I'm going to select people once more. This time I'm going to select body skin. So when you select body skin, anything that is not face or hair or anything like that, it's just the skin other than the face, it will select it for you. So in this case, it selected his neck. It also selected his hands. If he had shorts on, it would have selected his legs. So again, it's an absolutely wonderful selection, but you're going to notice when there's shadows around sometimes, and let's just go right into his hand area. And you're going to see that it kind of selected part of the guitar and it selected part of the shadow area as well. So all we have to do, the same thing, is we just simply hit create. And we're going to go in and we're going to subtract that mask that should not be there. Select our brush one more time. And just shrink it to the size that you need so that you can go ahead and simply erase all that mask area that you don't want in the photo. In between the fingers, you just simply adjust your brush so it fits. And as you see, I just actually reduced some of his finger. I'm going to bring that back in a minute, but let me just finish clearing out what I don't want first. All right, let's get all this stuff out here. And there we go. Getting that mask out a bit. Any of these little spots. And again, this is something that you would take your time with. I'm just rushing through just for demonstration purposes. But you can see all around his fingertips, the mask got a little confused in there. But it's very simple to use the subtraction tool, and you can go ahead and take away all what you don't want in there very easily. Okay, so that's all I'm going to take out. Well, right here, I guess. In there and up here. Now, there's some places that I took away too much of, right? And there's some places that maybe never got selected. So all we simply do is go back up to the tool we used before, but instead of subtracting, we're going to add it. So let's add brush, and I'm going to put those things back in. So let's cover that finger back up. Let's cover that finger that we made a mistake on. And let's finish this finger off that was actually missed by the mask selection. There. So that looks pretty darn good to me. So now we'll just take this, shrink it back down. So now we are basically just on body skin. Once we've got the mask all made up nice and easy, I just want to take and maybe bring up some shadows on this just to kind of bring that up a bit. And then I'm going to bring up the exposure just slightly, just so that it is more in line with his face that we actually increase the brightness of. Okay, we're looking really, really good here. So let's do something. This is one of the things I really love about this. Let's go back. Let's select people. Let's now do his iris and pupils. This is the most wonderful thing, especially when you're dealing with a portrait that you've got a very, very close up of, and you want to work on the eyes. You can select just the iris and pupil. And if I want to make his eyes stand out a little more, I can bring them up in brightness. I can adjust sharpness on them. Maybe if they're a little flat looking, I can add a little bit more saturation and color to them. So I can really make those eyes really pop out. Now, besides the eyes, another cool thing is you can select people. And let's go down to the teeth. Now, let's say you've got somebody who, for some reason, maybe the shadows have made their teeth look a little dark. That's not the case for this guy. But in this particular case, maybe the light didn't do a great job on that. So let's go ahead and lighten up where the teeth are. Now, just a tiny little bit of his lip got selected by the mask. So I'm going to subtract that with my brush. And we'll take that out. There we go. Now, what I normally do for teeth is if I want them to go up a brightness level or two, you can just use the exposure and just slightly push it. Just slightly push it. If you find that they were a little discolored, you can go down to the saturation and slightly decrease it. And if there's any really yellow staining, you can make them a little bit more white if you want to. All of these things, I suggest that you do very gingerly. Don't push these because, again, you can make people's teeth look not really natural very easily. Okay, so we got that done. So now we've got that. The only other thing we want to work on now is, let's go back. Okay, let's get out of that mask. And I want to take his working just on his clothes. So let's go ahead and we're going to select people one more time. We're going to go right down to his clothes, create, and let's just say that that clothes is just a little dark. Well, let's put just a little brightness on that, so he pops a little more out of the background. So I think we've got him looking really good. The only thing that I would want to do to finish this off is maybe on that background itself is to maybe decolor it a little bit. So let's go ahead, select a new mask. And this time we're going to select the background. It will select the background for us. And we can simply just take and go down and desaturate the background. Just ever so slight. And you can even, if you wanted to, just take the temperature down a bit on it, just to create just a little more separation from him in the background. And then from there, you could either expose background brighter to make it look like a brighter day, or you could bring it down a little bit and make it look like it's more of a night scene. So that's kind of it. Those are that is the magic of the masks that you can do, and all the variety of things that you can work on, whether it's people, this is just going to pop, there we go, whether it's wildlife, whether it's landscape, you can do all of those things. So let me get back to me. There we go, I'm back, and I've got about a minute, so I've got to finish up quick. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you got something out of this. So again, Lightroom, Adobe Camera Raw, go ahead and use them. Use those masks. They are so simple to use, and they are so versatile. They do a lot more than that, but I just wanted to show you some of the quicker stuff. So other than that, that is about all I have for this week. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week on Snapshots and Stories. So long for now.